Happy CX Day 2021, everyone. I am Gabe Smith, CCXP, and I'm the Content Manager and Associate Director for the Customer Experience Professionals Association, or CXPA. And it's really only fitting that in CXPA's 10th year of existence, we're taking a trip around the world for 10 regional panel discussions on the state of CX globally. Just today, we've joined Africa, Brazil, Canada, Europe, the Middle East, Oceania, and the UK. And in a moment, I'll introduce our panelists here in the US, and we're going to be followed this discussion by our final panel in Latin America and the Caribbean. So if you've missed any of our events today, which included revealing our Impact Award winners, a conversation in which we shared some breaking news about the CCXP exam, as well as a conversation where we shared some outcomes from our recent strategic planning sessions. You'll be able to catch those conversations on demand on CXPA's LinkedIn and YouTube channels. You can also check out cxday.org for a full calendar of events. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's panelists.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vasu Rao. Happy CX Day. I am a senior manager at Dexcom. I manage our international customer experience for all markets outside of the US. I'm very happy to be part of this event and meeting with other CX experts for this discussion.
Hey, happy CX Day, everyone. I'm Mark Michelson from Atlanta, Georgia. I produce conferences around customer experience called CX Forums. And I'm also am a marketing researcher, and I do a lot of front-end research around design of services. I'm very excited to be a part of this program and looking forward to our chat.
Hi, I am Lewis Taylor. I'm Vice President of Customer Experience and Customer Services at Cisco. And as always excited to get to talk about CX.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess Kinghorn. I am out of Salt Lake City, Utah, but I work for the global organization called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. I am their Director of Member Experience and Global Marketing, and I'm excited to be here.
Happy CX Day, everyone. My name is Sandra Mathis. I'm based in Atlanta, and I work for Microsoft as a program manager for Connected Customer Experience.
Well, happy CX Day, everyone. It is so great to be here with you. It's so exciting to look at my screen and see these faces and know that we're going to be talking about the topic that we all love, and that is customer experience for the next hour or so. So one of the things I love about CX Day is that it gives us a chance to step back and celebrate our CX accomplishments over the past year. You know, I think as CX professionals, we're a very critical group of people. We tend to think about all the processes that are still needing to be fixed in our organizations, that cultural transformation that we're still striving to achieve, the governance structure that we're still tweaking to make sure that we're getting buy-in throughout the organization. And we can be critical, and sometimes that stops us from celebrating. And so on CX Day, we get to celebrate a little bit and reflect on our successes. So I want to start my first question, and Sandy, I want to start with you. As you look back over the past year, what is a CX accomplishment that you are particularly proud of?
I'm going to actually take it from the perspective of thinking about our Atlanta network. The thing I'm most, I guess, proud of from a CX perspective is the fact that we're keeping a momentum going for our network, and along with our partner networks such as Boston. That would be the first thing. And then I think the second part off of that would be just even the notion that we've come up with this small group concept in order to just really kind of keep everybody connected and thinking about what's going on in their organizations in order to keep things moving along with this space.
That's fantastic, and I love it. And you know, it's also a day to celebrate the CX community. And you know, as you said, you know, we know CX is a team sport, and that's more than just our immediate teams collaborators that we work with. It's the broader CX community too.
Absolutely.
Jess, what are you celebrating this CX Day?
Well, I think, I should probably say really quickly that YPO is the Young Presidents Organization. So we're a membership organization for about 30,000 CEOs worldwide. So you'll hear me say member in place of customer a lot, but we're really, I would say, what we're celebrating is that seeing the CX strategy come to life in the form of a member experience-led strategy across the organization. This is the first time it's been done in my organization. And it's really helping all of our team members see their work as part of the whole, and that it's not their customer or their member, but all of our members. So, and I see really good things for the future.
That's fantastic. I think, any day is a good day to celebrate a positive customer-centric transformation. CX Day especially so. Congratulations on that, Jess. Lewis, what are you celebrating on CX Day?
Yes, so many things about CX just really excite me, but I think as we know, customers, their perception of what they want in the market space has kind of changed over the last year and a half. So for me, the big thing has been really being able to wow our customers, and I want to expand on that. We did a lot of work to make our customer journey really smooth and allow customers to self-serve and self-serve in the way they would want to self-serve. And I'm really, really proud of that, because we've not scaled for the sake of scale, but we've scaled for the sake of our customers, and we've made that journey smoother for them.
That's fantastic. Wonderful to hear. Mark, over to you. What's your source of celebration right now?
Yeah, I have several. I'm kind of excited about the transformation we've all gone through because of the pandemic. On my consulting side of the practice, of the business, I've had a lot of companies come to me wanting to understand better how they can tie together a journey, especially in the day where people are disconnected or they're connected from home. So understanding how to still have relationships even if you're not face to face has been important. And conversely, I guess really coincidentally, on my conference business, we haven't been able to meet in person, but we have been able to have meetings on a regular basis, and that's been a great thing, especially for people working from home alone. If you don't have a place to go or people to talk to, a weekly place to chat with people who you can have some camaraderie and some commonalities. I think it's really important to share that, and that's been a real great thing that's come out of this whole past year and a half or so.
Yeah, finding the space to make those meaningful connections, whether they're to your customers, whether they're to your CX colleagues, I think is a really critical theme, Mark. And speaking of CX successes, we want to give a huge thanks to our CX Day sponsors, each of whom makes this panel and really all that we're doing on CX Day possible. This year, we've created online homes for each sponsor. These pages include some great resources, downloadable content, and even some really nice giveaways. Please take a moment to visit these pages and, of course, to thank these organizations for their great support of CX, CX Day, and CXPA. Vasu, what are you celebrating today?
Well, I'm celebrating the opportunities that have been provided to us because of the pandemic. So the pandemic forced us, all of us, and brought the customer experience and employee experience into focus, hyper focus over the last year and a half. So what I'm seeing is many of the efforts that would usually get deprioritized are getting highly prioritized. So we've been able to get things done, which enhance our customers' experience, like Louis mentioned, in channels that they want to interact with us, digital channels, self-service, more robust online experiences. So I'm very excited for the development in that area, the innovation that's happening, not just in the organizations I've been part of, but just generally across wherever I see that innovation seems to be accelerating. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and I've had several of these conversations with other CX professionals around the globe, and that seems to be a theme that the events of the last couple of years is challenging and as unsettling as they have been from a CX perspective. It's pushed organizations into understanding the critical business importance of being customer centric and embedding that as a way of working in your organization. And so I'd like to keep on this same point. And Vasu, I want to stay with you on this question. You know, as you look at the CX discipline, what do you see as some of the hot issues that are impacting customers, that are impacting the field of customer experience, and that are impacting customer experience professionals?
Yeah, so the pandemic, in times of crisis and chaos, people want simplicity, and that's what, the customer expectations of, what an excellent customer experience should be, seems to be evolving, right, for the long term. So more simplicity, authenticity, empathy, and also delivering those experiences, personalized experiences, product services, without them having to navigate through all these different things. So that seems to be the theme that's emerging in terms of customers. Simple, straightforward, personalized solutions and services is what I think the customers are thinking about. From a CX professional's perspective, like you mentioned earlier, this gives us a great opportunity, but our challenges are delivering consistent experiences across different touch points, aligning with the customer's needs and expectations. And also, there's data and AI and natural language processing are all very advanced right now. So leveraging those technologies to start predicting what customers want and their sentiments are going to be, instead of having to ask them through surveys. So those are things that I think customer experience professionals are thinking about, and delivering these changes, faster, and getting more innovative and nimble on our feet.
Yeah, you mentioned some great points, Vasu, and the emergence of technology to meet rising customer expectations. And you mentioned machine learning and AI. And Lewis, I'm sure you have some perspective on what Vasu just shared as well. So what do you see as the hot issues for CX and for CX pros?
Yeah,
right now?
absolutely. So one, I'm going to be echoing a lot of what has already been said, but I think a couple of years ago we went through this whole mantra about digital transformation, and I think that built the backdrop for what customers expect today. So customers expect today, they expect you to know them, they expect you to enable them, like make it easy for them, and they expect you to delight them in the process. And for us in the customer experience world, that has created some unique opportunities as well as challenges for us. Opportunities, we have the opportunity to really shape what we're doing in the customer experience journey for customers along the way. But the challenges of that are, okay, how do we get our technology right? How do we make sure our AI and machine learning is doing the right things for customers and now tailored to them, not just tailored from an AI perspective? How do we know them when we engage with them, and then learn from our customers and make it easy for them to engage with us? I think as we think about technology and in the SaaS world and in almost any product or service organization, I think the gaps are going to close. And the competitive edge is going to be what you do in the customer experience arena. And I think that's going to be our biggest challenge, but also our biggest opportunity as well.
Yeah, really great perspective there. And Sandy, Lewis talked about challenges and opportunities, talked about the importance of, striking a balance between use of technology and AI and bridging some gaps. Do you see these as hot issues? And if so, what is the role of the CX professional in helping their organizations affect these kinds of changes and make some really critical decisions?
So yeah, I completely agree with what Lewis was just saying. The reality is it's almost like a lot of the things that were already on the cusp when we went into the pandemic are still there. It's just been heightened by a lot of our day-to-day interactions, experiences that we're having. And so I think the important thing really becomes around breaking down silos, making sure the communication levels between teams within organizations becomes even more paramount, because customers right now are, I think, seeing even more than ever. It's not just about changing, and Lewis mentioned this about the knowing their customers. It's no longer okay to just kind of sort of know the customer, sort of do things. If they've got an option and you're only kind of half stepping towards, delivering what you need to for them, the reality is you're going to lose those customers. So it really becomes more important not to just kind of halfway get there, but really to make sure you're delighting and really getting to know them and trying to add in personalization that works for that customer, because how one customer wants it may not be the way another customer wants to be known and recognized and kind of have their experiences. So I think it's just all the things that we were doing before, just now take it to another level.
Yeah, really great points. You mentioned the value of breaking down silos, and that there shouldn't be any half measures. We need to be all in or all out. And so, Mark, as you reflect on what you've heard, what do you see as some of the hot issues?
I see the area of AI and automation as being an area that needs to be humanized a lot more. There's so much going on with the idea of excitement to automate things and reduce labor, that there's a lot of errors being happening out there. And I think it turns people off when you get a note after you get off of a call or something, and they say, you missed your call, and you were there. It's like, there's just a lot of stuff that's tweaking, I think, has to be done to make sure that the automations are actually making sense to people. And you don't really know that until you get into the flow of it. The other thing is, I think there is a lot going on with measurements and which measurements are right for which areas and companies. And you can have too many of those as well. It becomes disruptive sometimes to the experience to have measuring every aspect of it. So I think, as companies are coming out of this, determining which measurements are most important and working on their automation to where it's more humanized. Those are the two key areas.
Yeah, really great perspective, Mark. And, Jessica, I know answering the question last of all the panelists is always a fun place to be, because, but I'm going to ask you to answer the question anyway. So
I appreciate you acknowledging that.
Yeah. So, what do you see as some of the hot issues facing CX pros?
Everyone pretty much said it, right? And I think I love the piece about, and what I originally wrote down, so I'll start with that, is value and connection. My organization, a huge value is getting together in person, which we hadn't been able to do. This is a huge piece of our business. And so how do we help them see the value in the organization when we can't be together in person? So that's kind of been a hot topic of ours. And so what we've really been working on is meeting people, what everyone else said, meeting people not only from a technology standpoint, but also from an emotional standpoint. Where are you now? And how can we connect with you? So that was the other piece of value and connection. So how do we connect with you? And then also, how do we help you connect with one another? And one thing we did as an organization is we are just about to launch a YPO concierge offering at our organization to really respond to that, meeting people where they are, personalizing the experience, and connecting with them.
Yeah, Jess, I love that. And, thinking about what we've been trying to do with CXPA this past year, and fostering those connections when we can't be together, as strongly resonates with me. And such as, panels like this one where we get to connect and talk and celebrate. So Jess, I'm going to stay with you. You get to go first this time. As you look to the future of CX, what gets you excited? CX Day is a chance to celebrate the past, but also look towards the future. So what's got you hopeful as you look towards the future of this discipline?
Well, what you just said, Gabe, that it's a discipline, that people are actually acknowledging it as such. I think people can use member experience, customer experience as just words, but there is this acknowledgement and this knowledge now, and interest by senior leaders and organizations to actually use it as a tool to move the organization forward, instead of just some words that you put together that mean different things to different people. So really elevating the discipline so it can move companies forward.
Yeah, great point. Mark, over to you. What's got you excited?
You know, I'm really turned on by the whole small teams thing that we've enacted. In other words, because we're all sort of working at home and sort of disassociated from a workplace, we have more. I think we're more in touch with each other in small groups. So the idea of team sports and the idea of small groups coming together to support each other, to really have a meaningful conversation with a few people, and have it on a regular basis. I think that is pretty solid stuff that's happening right now.
Yeah, great point. Lewis, what are you excited about?
I think the fact that CX is become a household name. If you go back 2, 3, even 4 years, there's not a lot of history where companies had CX organizations. And now I think companies have realized the customer experience organization is going to be the difference between you and your competitor. It's going to be the difference between how you succeed in the marketplace, and it's going to make the difference on your products and services. And I think I'm really, really excited about that. Just having it as a household name is just like, for me, it's like a dream come true.
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier we were reflecting on the fact, I was having a conversation with someone about the fact that a few years ago at our Insight Exchange conference in New Orleans, one of CXPA's founders, Bruce Temkin, said that, when we founded CXPA, at that time, we were like, parents watching kids out on the soccer field. Everybody's just happy to be there. We're happy to be there, happy to be around other people who are, going through the struggles and doing the work and having that sense of camaraderie. But sort of where we are 10 years later is this is a recognized, professionalized discipline that has, a competency framework, a body of knowledge, independent, consensus-driven standards that's sort of attached to it. And it's not just, we're all happy to be here. And I think that's to the benefit of all of us that we've made those advancements over the past decade as a discipline. So, Sandy, over to you. What are you excited about related to the future of CX?
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is to continue to see, on one hand, I firmly believe in the right foundation has to be in place, but it kind of goes to a little bit of what Mark was saying about measurements, right? So it's not a one-stop shop for this measurement applies to all organizations. And the reality is CX doesn't apply in every organization exactly the same. And so I get excited kind of hearing about how different organizations are applying and are leveraging and are approaching how they bring CX into their companies. But then at the same time, I'm always wanting to hear a little bit more about how much of the foundations, how much of the fundamentals are you actually employing, and kind of seeing what that looks like. So it's almost like you go in and you build a car. You get, you're making sure that you've got all your core pieces and parts to it, but at the same time, how are you, dazzling it out, or what are the extra features that you're putting on to kind of take it to the next level and make it really hum and make it work and operationalize for your organization. So those are the things that excite me a lot about trying to see how that continues to evolve.
Yeah, I love that. And when I think, like about the CXPA community, we have, communities that have been built in the website. And so there's a B2B CX community. You can join that if you're, a B2B CXer and bounce ideas off of people. And yet, there's sort of this global meeting place and global forum where we can all learn from each other. You're B2C, B2B, you can still, take things that you find appealing about how someone has implemented their CX program and apply that to your own organization. I think that's one of the things that's like really thrilling and exciting about the community that we've built. So Vasu, what's got you excited?
I'm a technology person, by training background. So technology excites me a lot. And bringing empathy together with technology is what really excites me very much. And like I mentioned earlier, we are the junction of the technological advances and the customer expectations changing, expecting more personalized, simple, authentic experiences. So I'm really excited about what the technology will enable us to do and deliver those kinds of experiences and brand promises to our customers. So I really think, we're at a very exciting time to be able to innovate and expedite those customer journeys. And that's what really excites me.
That's awesome. And, as you saw at the top, we've talked a little bit and touched on the fact that the theme for this CX Day is CX is a team sport. And again, this isn't just your immediate team. This is your larger, CX community as part of your team. And we know that, individuals play a huge role in driving CX programs forward. We're actually celebrating, just celebrated our CXPA Impact Award winners for this year, celebrating the role of the individual. But we know to drive that ultimate level of success, we need a great CX team. So my question for you, and Mark, I'll start with you on this one. What makes a great CX team?
Wow, that's a good one. I think first of all, just having a common goal or a common mission that everyone's on the same page as far as where they want to be and how you get there. I think you have to have specialists who can share with each other. Just like Vasu here is a technology person, you have other people that are very left brain or right brained. I happen to be a research person, but I'm not really good at writing, say, thank you letters for whatever reason. So I think that having people that do have expertise in the team, just like you do in any team sport, you got a quarterback, you got someone who catches the ball, and you got people who tackle. Tackling has to be a part of it. You have to have those people on the team, and they all have to have the same mission, the same idea of what it is they're doing and how they're going to deliver it. And then they can work on their special areas to get there, and ideally in concert with each other.
Yeah, really great point, Mark. Varied skill sets, the importance of having people who are good at different things that are on your team. And Lewis, I know that you've had a long career in the private sector and also in the military. So I know you've got some great perspective here on what makes a great team. So I'm really excited to hear from you on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mark echoed a lot of what I would say, but I think it's one, having a group of folks focused on one singular mission, having a diverse team that can look at things differently, having a team that's really passionate about customer experience and customers. And I'll use this example. I don't know how many times I'll come back on Monday and we'll be sitting around having a conversation, or we'll be talking about something, and someone will bring up like a bad customer experience they had over the weekend, right? And when that starts to happen within your team, you have the right passionate folks that are driven to one singular mission, and that's walking a mile in the customer shoes, having empathy for the customer. Because I like to view it, when a customer engages us, and they have to engage us. One, I think we're already behind the ball when a customer has to engage us. If we're doing the right things, we're making it easy for our customers to engage us without having to physically engage us. But when they do have to engage us, we want to make that experience as smooth as possible. And in order to do that, you need to have folks that are really passionate about that customer journey and that customer experience. And I think for me, that's been the biggest thing. It's just across the military, whether it's across the tech sector, it's having a diverse team that really cares about the people they work with and cares about the mission that they're on.
Yeah, really great perspective. I love that. Jess, what makes a good team, CX team, in your experience?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this question as I was watching a Real Salt Lake soccer match recently. I know everyone else was paying more attention in the game, but I was just thinking about what happens in a team like that. And one thing they do a lot is talk to each other during the game, to talk about where everyone needs to be, et cetera. And I think that really translates to a team, any kind of work team, especially CX. Also, as mentioned before, having different skills, and everyone has to be pulling their weight to make it work. And everyone also needs to be really clear on what they're supposed to be doing. And I think as your small CX team expands to the larger organizational team, that really should be kind of part of your CX team in a way. They need to be clear on what they need to do. And I think also a great CX team celebrates, as we did at the beginning of this, Gabe, celebrates the wins, because it's really easy to focus on the other things. And lastly, takes care of one another.
Yeah, I love that. And thinking about sports teams that I'm a fan of, and seeing that communication on the field, and knowing that, if there's a problem that's happened, to break down in communication, let's go over here and figure that out and get it right the next time. Having that sort of short memory when things do go wrong. Absolutely. I love that. And Sandy, I want to get your perspective here on this too. What makes a great team?
Yeah, it's hard to come up with anything different from what has already been articulated, because these are all great examples. So my addition on is not much. I mean, it really does come down to having, being aligned to where it is that you're trying to go. Like, what are you trying to actually get pushed down the field or in the hoop, whatever, sport analogy you want to use. It really does come down to, I think there's a lot of value that comes in from having people with different perspectives and backgrounds, really making sure that it's not just about the disciplines that come into making a team, but also just varying backgrounds and skill sets, and pulling that in. And then often it's also, for me, the last thing I would say is, it's not just your core CX team. A lot of times it's those other teams that you work with, kind of bringing them into the fold as well. Because sometimes they see things that you don't necessarily always have line of sight to, in terms of bringing things together. So if I think about like the team I work on, we're a program management team that is focused in on customer experience, but only one of us is a true program manager. There's two of us who've come from a CX, are in the CX space. And then we've got folks who just have some other kind of business experience, expertise in the organization. And that's what collectively makes our team work and function towards how do we improve the experience for our customers. So it's kind of recognizing that you can bring in inspiration from other places in order to move forward. And I think those things bring it all together.
Yeah. I think that's great. And, you said you didn't have a whole lot to add, but I think you added a whole lot, Sandy. So I'm going to ask you to stay on this topic. And, we've heard so many great things about characteristics of a high performing team. So I would love to get your thoughts on, how do you build a team like that?
Right. So the thing that pops into mind, and if my manager hears this, he's going to start laughing, because we talk a lot about a yellow Ferrari. And really, the yellow Ferrari is just an example of managing expectations. And it's like using the word blue. So if you talk about this, you talk about a yellow car, everybody on this call will visualize a car that is different. And our stakeholders may think that they're going to get this Ferrari, that it has all the pieces figured out, when in fact, really all you're trying to do is, first, you got to build like a yellow Toyota Corolla, not even a new one. It's got to be just needs to function if you're a smaller organization. And then as you get, you kind of get more and more into getting it integrated into your organization, then maybe it's no longer this Corolla, but now it's a Camry, and it's, it's the high end. And then you move on. And so ultimately, maybe you get to that yellow Ferrari, but I think it's important to make sure that you really are ensuring that you are managing those expectations of your team, as well as those who are around you, and that everybody is also aligned on what that means. And then that will, in fact, get you a lot further than, I thought I was getting, X, Y, and Z. It was a Beetle. And it's like, no, the Beetle wasn't even in consideration. So it's that sort of thing.
Yeah, I love that, in aligning expectations. And Mark, would love to get your perspective on this as well. What are your thoughts on team building? And Mark, if you take yourself off mute.
Sorry about that. We've been talking about the I guess, sports teams mostly here, and I'm kind of thinking about music as a team, bands in particular. And there's what came to mind when Sandy was talking was not every size company is the same. Sometimes you have a trio or a duo, and that team has to really work harder to support each other and fill in the gaps and know their place in the band, so to say. In other words, you don't want your rhythm guy all of a sudden, playing guitar, so to say. And a larger organization, by the same token, needs to have not only like a symphony, you've got a conductor who ideally is the head of the CX program, but each person has backups as well in a symphony. You got first chair, second chair, third chair, etc. So size of organization, I think, is going to dictate a lot, as well as how does someone get in that role. I think they have to be a master of their own instrument or their own craft, and that's evident through experience and through work, but also leaving some room for some new thinking to come in as well. While everyone has to follow the music in a symphony, improvisation in other bands is welcomed.
Yeah, I love that. The balance between sort of following the script and in improvising. I think that sort of gets at the art and science nature of it, what it is that we do. So, Jess, would love to get your perspective on, because I think in customer experience, one of the things that I've experienced in my career as a practitioner has been that there are certainly highs and lows, right? There are victories where you feel like you're making a great deal of progress. There are other periods of setbacks, and I think we've touched on the importance of resilience. But how do you, as a CX leader, motivate your team to be able to weather some of those peaks and valleys that come with working in a CX role?
Well, I mean, I think they come with working in any role. And I think, I don't know if this is as much about motivation, but maybe more about kind of weathering the storm. Is we talk a lot about when the time is right. When is the right time for something? For instance, I came into this CX work and I had, developed a CX, organizational CX plan. I had senior leaders on board, and then the senior leaders that were on board, they've both left the organization. And so talk about a valley. Like, I was deep in, and as the new leaders started to come into the organization, I started to realize when it was time, right? Time again to address this. So, and it's been a wonderful success since then. And I think maybe that would be my suggestion to my team, which is, we're going to do these things, but we are going to have difficult moments where we're going to have those valleys, but there will be a right time. Just it might not be when we want it to be. And so I think creating that flexibility is important.
Yeah, I really love that perspective. And thank you for sharing that experience. I think that's really, really helpful. Lewis, would love to get your thoughts on motivating your team.
Yeah, I think it's having a singular vision. It all starts with, some of the things we've talked about earlier on, having, folks that are really passionate about CX, that are really engaged, that really want to be a part of it, being diverse. But I think the big thing is just having a singular vision, starting every conversation with a customer and having folks passionate about your customers has been huge for us. And then having folks that want to think outside the box and want to be creative. The beauty of CX is, I feel like, since we've arrived now and we have our place in organizations, we can now stretch ourselves. We can now really take some risk. We can now drive forward from an innovative perspective. We can now drive forward from a customer engagement perspective. And I think folks are just really, really excited and jazzed about roles where we've taken out some of the boundaries and allowed them to really just go fast and solve customer problems.
That's fantastic, Lewis. Final question for the group. And this also gets to what I love about CX Day. If you haven't caught on, I like CX Day a lot. And that is that, we can celebrate our successes over the last year. We can sort of take stock on where CX is. We can gauge our excitement on where things are going. And we can also think about our own careers, right? We can think about what's it going to take to get that next role, to make the jump from being a practitioner to a consultant, or vice versa. Whatever that career success looks like, it's a chance for us to take stock of where things are and where we would like things to be. So would love to leverage your experience, the folks on this panel, and ask, what is one piece of career advice that you would like to share with the CX professionals who are watching? So Vasu, I'll start with you on this one.
One piece of advice that I would have is this. This is honestly, I think it's obvious, but still, this will be my advice. To get as close as possible to your customer, B2B, B2C. I think to be successful in customer experience, it's imperative to have this in-depth knowledge of what your customer looks like, things like, acts like, what a day in the life of your customer is like, and how you fit into their intent and what they are trying to achieve. I think that gives us clarity into what actually matters to the customer, and make improvements to the areas that really matter to them, and hence, benefits the business as well. So if it's B2B, your customers are more likely working with other providers, suppliers like you. So if you want them to pick you over somebody else, you got to understand where you fit into their work stream, and make sure that, it's as easy as possible to work with you. So, getting that insight, getting that in-depth knowledge of your customer, I think it's really critical for any CX professional to be successful, whether you're a practitioner or consultant, to have that knowledge and be able to translate back that to the organization. It's very critical, I think.
Mark?
It's fascinating to me. As we're inundated and we're in the world of CX all the time, we're pretty familiar with things that are happening and going on, like journey maps or different kind of measurement platforms. And I continually run into people on the client side, or as a consultant, who really don't know all the things that we do, and they need to know these things. So I think education is really key about how to do things and why they're done a certain way or not. Also, continuous learning. We're all in a state of expanded technology, and I think technology has been changing almost every day with a lot of the tools that we use, like StreamYard or Zoom or whatever it might be. So maintaining knowledge base and sharing that knowledge with a larger audience, I think, is key for the CX business.
Lewis?
Yeah, I echo what everyone said so far, but I'd say dream big, dare to dream big, stretch your organization, take some risks, go big for your customers, and put them first in everything you do. For teams that I lead, one of the things we do is we start and end every meeting with, is it good for the customer? And the reason for that is then we're all centered around that one North Star. So dream big, be centered around your customers, and don't be afraid to take some risks. Even if you don't get everything right, you're still going to be further down the path than the person that just stands still. So keep moving, always moving forward.
Jess?
All right, so you asked for career advice. So I'm going to get kind of specific here, but I think one is get a consultant. I think getting that outside in perspective on the work that you're doing is also a way for you to grow as a professional, as well as your organization. So I really enjoyed bringing in a consultant, a CX consultant, for some of my work for that reason. Also, completely agree with Vasu on don't get so far, if you're managing people, don't get so far away from the actual customer experience that you don't know what it's like for them, because that can sometimes get lost in the weeds. And last, explore how CX can kind of blend with other roles. Like mine happens to be a blend of two types of roles, and it happens to be a happy marriage.
Sandy?
Yeah, for me, I would say that you really should figure out which lane it is figure out the lane that works best for you. This space has evolved a lot over the years and will continue to evolve. Some things good, some things that are bad. But at the end of the day, it really just makes sure that an organization or a person who is focused in on CX, that they, again, think about what it is that they're focused in on, the strategy that they need to, involve and think about what they want to do, and then just really just try to work towards it. Whether it is something that is small, if you just own one part, or you are responsible for the overarching direction that the organization is going through. So, and just do good work and have fun with it, because it's a field that has a lot of potential.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely, Vasu. Go ahead.
So for one of the CX advice on the same topic, build relationships. So CX never it happens in a vacuum. So as customer experience practitioners, it's really important for us to build relationships across the organization, to also, to share insights that you find with the organization, and also the other way around. So just build relationships. So that's all I was going to add.
Great perspective. So Vasu, Mark, Sandy, Jess, Lewis, I appreciate you and your leadership and lending us your time today. And I just want to leave you with happy CX Day, everybody.
Happy CX Day. Thank you.
Happy CX Day.
Woohoo!
Thank you to all of our panelists for a fantastic discussion. And if you want to get involved with CXPA events, you want to meet other CX professionals like the ones you heard from today, you can visit us at cxpa.org/United States. While you're there, you can create a guest account and stay up to date on happenings in the CX space. And if you're interested in getting even more involved in the CX community, if you're interested in opening up your ability to access professional mentoring, open up your ability to get discounted pricing on the CCXP exam, and opening up your ability to help shape the future of CX through involvement in a professional work group, there's really never been a better time to do it. Now through the end of October, you can take 20% off the cost of a new professional membership at cxpa.org. Just use promo code CXDay 2021. So I hope you'll join us and help us as we chart the future of customer experience, not just here in the United States, but around the world, and advancing this discipline as we do best together. Happy CX Day, everyone. Thanks for joining.